front if in fact they were to get around you. And for whatever reason, I forgot to start recording. It's damn good that I did it now, 7 minutes into the show, instead of right at the end. But anyway, so bumping your opponent up and over you, and the that was the part that I had the trouble with, the spinny part, because there's a progression where you go from the reverse De La Riva to under your opponent, having pulled yourself between their legs, and the next step from there is a back take, because you kick your opponent's hamstrings, on both their legs, and then pop their legs out from under them and take the back. I could feel it in the future of that progression, that's kind of where we're going to with it. But we did not get that far today. It was mostly just the change of position for pushing away, and also the change of position for kicking them up and over. Did not quite get around to the attack, but I know it's there. I can feel it. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down with some music. And as far as our first stance goes, we're going to go with body count. But I'm not sure where to go here. Oh, you know what? There's a song that I haven't played in a while. Where is it? There it is. Talk shit, get shot. First stance here on Coin Metal. And that was Vola with The Same War. And let me post something really quick here. Anyway, as far as what we're going to get into today, I did a little digging around, as I always do, and I come up with a couple of things. And one of the things I came up with, I'm trying to get to it now. Unfortunately, my programs like to tell me which ones they want to prioritize instead of me. Anyway, so as far as what we're getting into, let me turn this down just a tad. And, so, I've got it here. Damn it, that's not it. That's not it either. This is it. Here we go. And we've talked a lot about Ethereum 2.0, and oh, Jesus Christ, on a radio show now. All right, so keep getting diverted here. I've talked a lot about Ethereum 2.0 and how I don't think it will ever really launch. It's one of those things where the miners have to want to do it, or at least they have to develop enough support for it. Now, I don't know exactly how they intend to do this whole transition, and I should probably investigate that, and maybe we will today on the show. I'm not entirely certain. But at some point, I'd like to understand how exactly you go from a proof of work algorithm to a proof of stake algorithm midstream. I think it's kind of weird. But we're going to get into this thing here. And it's crypto-news-flash.com. Vitalik Buterin reveals advantages and new features of Ethereum 2.0. And this is by Ronaldo. So I'm assuming yes, penis. And this is authored August 2nd, 2020. The transition in the Ethereum's consensus protocol from proof of work to a proof of stake blockchain is one of the most anticipated events in the crypto space. In a recent interview for the Unchained podcast, The co-creator of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, revealed some details about Ethereum 2.0's functioning and its disadvantages. Why would you go into its disadvantages trying to sell people on this shit? Anyway, continuing. According to Buterin, Ethereum 2.0 will have features that will make it, quote, a more technical platform. In that sense, users with less experience and technical knowledge will find the platform less accessible. This could have a negative impact on the adoption of Ethereum. Buterin stated the following, quote, in proof of stake, for example, one of the disadvantages is that it's definitely a bit more technologically complex because you have to deal with validators. You have to figure out what's the process for validators logging in and what's the process for validators logging out. And there's a lot of just kind of management happening in the protocol. Additionally, the co-creator of Ethereum highlighted the importance of Ethereum's price for network security. Buterin said that this aspect is more important than others, such as the supply of the cryptocurrency. Therefore, Ethereum's monetary policy will vary between the stability of ETH supply, its price, and the stability of security. In addition, the co-creator of Ethereum said that a negative emission of Ethereum is within the range of possibilities for the cryptocurrency. Negative emission? What the fuck is a negative emission? Buterin stated, quote, if you look at the transaction fees for Ethereum in the last few weeks, you will see that they have been between 2,000 and 5,000 Ethereum per day. If you expand it to a year, then you see that if it goes between 700,000 to 1,700,000 Ethereum a year, which is higher than issuance with proof of stake. So, negative emission is not far from the range of possibility for Ethereum. What the fuck does that mean? If you expand it to a year, then see blah, 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 a year, which is higher than the issuance with proof of stake. I guess that means that the gas will be worth more. Bitcoin halving or Ethereum's DeFi sector. Who's leading the rally? In the last few days, Ethereum has been one of the cryptocurrencies with the highest profits in the top 20. At the time of publication, Ethereum is trading at $364 with gains of 4.94% in the last 24 hours. In the weekly and monthly chart, Ethereum shows gains of 22.44% and 64.85%. Interesting. Precisely 2 years ago, in August 2018, Ethereum was trading in the 400 range. Recently, the cryptocurrency managed to reach that range, although it has since fallen to the current price. The rally seems to be motivated by the hype around the launch of the Mandala testnet, the last one before the launch of Ethereum 2.0, in addition to the growth of the DeFi sector in Ethereum. In the crypto community, a debate has arisen between Bitcoin maximalists and others who reject the theory that the rally of the past few days has been motivated by Bitcoin's halving. In contrast, they propose that it was the Ethereum DeFi sector and the profits that yield farming offers investors the rally's main engine. No, wrong. Below you can see the complete interview with the co-creator of Ethereum. We're not going to do that. Let me see if there's actually comments on this, and there is not. Okay, so there's some serious mistakes here. Number one, Ethereum 2.0 has been something that has been bumbling around for the last 2 years. They've had like 5 different dates that they were set to launch Ethereum 2.0, but for whatever reason, it never launched. And I believe they've even had test nets of the launch and projects and all that other business, and for whatever reason they failed to materialize into full-fledged adoption or whatever the fuck they're actually hoping for there. But I think that over time we're going to see that this transition over to POS is probably not going to happen. And the reason why I suggest that is because the miners have an incentive, and that is to get the block rewards and get the fees. No mining, no block rewards, no fees. And so the problem with this transition is that it requires different hardware to run proof of work algorithms and proof of stake algorithms. And this idea of complexifying people out, that's fucking stupid. You're trying to drive adoption. What people build on top of it, that's their business. But if you're trying to drive people to take their hardware and install the fucking software on it and run the fucking software and make your goddamn network, if you want that to happen, you have to make it easy for them. You have to make it appealing for them. There has to be an incentive involved. And this idea of replacing miners with validators is stupid. They've already, and when I say they, I'm talking about governments, they've already constructed a whole regulatory framework for quote-unquote validators. It already exists. So it's like, do you really want to walk into that prison cell? Because that's what they're offering you. They're offering you a nice little prison cell, and you'll be able to pay them through the prison cell wall, and you'll be able to live, but only within the prison cell. You know, and I fail to see why anybody would be motivated to do that. That to me is counterintuitive, because as soon as you're in that prison cell, the person that's feeding you in that prison cell is the one that defines what your monetary policy is the one that defines whether you are doing valid code or invalid code, is the one that defines for you what the capabilities of your token will be, what the disbursement rate will be, all that bullshit. You are granting a regulatory entity license to dictate to you what code to write. What the no. That's not why I got into crypto, and I'm sure that's probably not why you got into crypto either. You know, and I know that they will at some point drop some sort of regulatory framework that they're going to say, you have to follow this or it's illegal. And people are going to violate it anyway. You know, I'm already seeing where people are accessing coins and tokens that, for whatever reason, aren't available in the United States. Can you believe that shit? Something in crypto not available in the United States, unless, of course, you're using a VPN and getting around shit that way. But the point being is this shit is supposed to be global. All of it. Not just some of it, all of it. And because it can be global, it will be global. And it doesn't matter what regulatory agents say. And right now, you know, it's funny to me because, you know, they're having to close down investigation units in certain police departments because they can't keep up with the fucking backlog and they can't afford the fucking investigators for it. I mean, really, you gotta consider what that means for industries that don't have a defined regulatory boundary yet. Basically, it means that we are running our own ships. And even in the digital space where there is as much control as there is here, there is still a lot more freedom to be found here. and due to that being the case, I believe that all of these attempts to impose some sort of regulatory burden on everybody that uses a particular currency, again, it's going to do is drive people to other means of transacting, other networks, other currencies, ones you don't regulate, ones you don't have any ability to tax. And really, that's the nature of the market. You know, the whole reason to be in business is to try and profit from your endeavors. And of course, the effort involved, you want to maximize your profit. And if that means that you have to cut around some regulatory frameworks, you have to do some janky code, you have to work with some entities on a VPN, then that's what you're going to fucking do. And I guess that governments are the only ones that they think that they're the only ones that take their profits, or your profits rather, seriously. And we all know that to not be the case. The primary concerned individual or party is you and your profits. You know, you're going to determine what code you put out. You're going to determine what hardware you're willing to dedicate to a network. You are the one that is going to focus your Ethereum or whatever other currency is being used as gas to back up a project. You are the market. And, you know, it seems to me that all of the boundaries that we talk about on this show, they're all perceptual, conceptual. They don't really apply to reality. Where the rubber hits the road is a vastly different terrain than what we see described here in these articles. They speak from a position where there's some sort of control that's actually possible. And to some extent there is some sort of control possible, just not the kind of controls that used to be possible. You know, the idea of being able to stop somebody from transacting digitally, you can just piss that one away. It doesn't exist anymore. Being able to censor or edit people out of the economy, that capability is gone. Because all they have to do is find another currency and find entities that are willing to transact with them, and they're off to the races again. They can change whatever monetary value or whatever hardware or whatever they have. They could sell it for that currency, get some liquidity available, and get the ball rolling all over again. And it might slow them down for just a tad, but they'll catch up a hell of a lot faster than the first time. You know, a great many powers have been lent to us by Satoshi Nakamoto, and not all of them are fully appreciated by people who are using even cryptocurrencies. Let me get over to this next article here if I can actually find it. It's not that one. And that one's looking good. Checking back on a coin that I happen to have a little bit of, and I'm not going to disclose what it is because, well, you know, we don't show coins here, or we try not to anyway. Beyond just reading information. But where the hell was that other article? I had another article here that I wanted to cover before no wonder it's in Japanese, or Chinese rather. Well, it's actually translatable. Haha, cool. I do have this other article, and I think this is an opinion piece. And yeah, let's get into it. I think this was originally published in Chinese. So, fortunately for us, they actually give us an English translation directly on here. And this is on mp.weekson.qq.com. So I guess this is on QQ at one time, or I don't even know if people use QQ anymore. Anyway, continuing on. If the investment is deceived and unwilling, then deceive others to pay the bill. National Security Bureau of the Ministry of Public Safety today. And let's see. Miners dig chain coins, realize your rich dreams, invest a few thousand yuan, let you easily become a mine owner. As soon as the mining machine rang, the gold would be tens of thousands. These are rubbing, quote, blockchain hotspots. Very seductive advertising. Does it make you dazzled and stunned? Yang, who is in his 40s, lives in Guanyang County, Lianyang City, Jiangsu Province. He usually likes to study and tinker with new things, and he feels that he has some opportunities waiting for him. In recent years, internet blockchain, quote, virtual currency has attracted much attention. Yang saw a lot of advertisements about blockchain currency, and the, quote, money scene was considerable. So he began to frantically search for various blockchain, quote, virtual currencies online. Currency investment project. Okay. After a test, Yang not only failed to make money, but also lost more than 100,000. He just wondered, what the hell is this? Is it because I don't have enough technology, or I don't know how to invest? Or is there no fortune? After all, Yang is a person who loves to delve into research. After careful analysis and consideration, he slowly realized that the Dao in it turns out that the operation mode of the blockchain virtual currency he invested in is essentially the technology gimmick network MLM does not have any profitable investment projects at all, and the money invested can only be meat buns on dogs. There is no return. So he was not at a loss in investment before, but was actually cheated. Ordinarily, I want to understand that this is a scam. Yang should call the police for help and assist the police in combating criminal activities of online fraud. No matter how bad, you should get out of this big pit as soon as possible and don't sink deeper. But this Yang's operation is extremely paradoxical. If you don't take the main road, you don't want to go sideways, he thought. If you can make money by flicking, why work so hard? This money came so quickly, I was cheated. Why can't I cheat it back from someone else in the same way? With this idea, he immediately began to act. Yang asked Zhang and Liu, who had the same experience of being deceived. After discussing and reaching an agreement, they started to build a network, quote, mining platform, rent a house, design a network platform, and do training courseware. It is really busy to develop, quote, customers and offline through the internet when everything is ready. In this way, after the Baychain app mobile phone platform built by Yang went online, he actively developed members and offline in a way that promised high returns and easy circulation of the Baychain coins. In just 2 months, he has successfully developed more than 20 members in Lianyang, Yangcheng, Huan, and other places, and obtained nearly 300,000 illegal profits. Looking at the bulging pockets, Yang couldn't hold back his joy, and worked harder to figure out how to continue to develop new members and make his own financial resources roll in. The French Open is intact, but not leaking. In April 2020, the Lianyang Network Police received a report from the deceived masses and quickly carried out an investigation around the operation of the Baychain mobile app. Work found that the app is linked to a third-party exchange. After the investment members' funds entered the exchange, they did not make relevant, quote, blockchain investment, but all transferred to a private account, and the account holder is this Yang. The police handling the case followed the vine and quickly captured him. During the handling of the case, the police also discovered that a technology company in Henan province, knowing that Yang asked to make a, quote, Chain app for fraud, still helped make it, mining virtual currency software for profit. According to this, the police quickly attacked, arrested Li and Hu, the main members of the company, and seized computers and mobile phones on the spot. So far, this cyber fraud den is under the banner of, quote, blockchain, has been successfully destroyed. At present, quote, blockchain and other emerging technologies are developing rapidly. Some lawbreakers use the people's mentality to invest in financial management under the banner of, quote, blockchain high tech, and use so-called, quote, mining machines to dig high-priced virtual currency to commit fraud and infringement. The legitimate rights and interests of the masses. The cyber police once again remind you to establish correct investment philosophy, to rationally treat concepts such as blockchain and virtual currency, and do not believe the pie-in-the-sky lies. Raise your own risk awareness and refrain from giving criminals a chance to take advantage of the opportunity. So yeah, this is basically describing a group of investors who all got ganked by somebody else, and rather than reporting it to the police, they said, you know what, they fucked us, we're going to fuck them. And they set up their own little app and their own little network, and they got busted because they were just ripping people off. Now, I want to take this opportunity to point out the fact that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies work on a very, very simple principle. And one of those, or set of very simple principles, I should say. And one of those being that it's better to play by the rules. Now, they could have gotten away with plenty of money. But instead of trying to do it legitimately, they tried to do it through deception. Now, using nothing more than the resources that they already had available, they could have launched a cryptocurrency in the most legitimate way possible. Start mining it yourself, invite other people to mine it, and let them hook up to the network and mine away. You know, get into your social media and give coins away. That's how you get your coin dispersed. That's how you get the ball rolling. And you avoid all of this bullshit. You know, all you got to do is say, look, we're doing exactly what Bitcoin is doing, and we're doing it the same way. You know, it's like there's no company here, there's no exchange to be regulated, there's no employees to be taxed. We're all volunteers here, and we contribute our time, our effort, and our hardware to this project. We don't circulate money other than the coin. You know, so when it comes to like electricity and stuff like that, you pay in the coin. And of course, governments have their own little ways that they want to come and tax this shit, but if they don't know about it, they can't tax it. And I think that we're going to see a lot more of coins that they don't know about. And like I said already, we're starting to see where decentralized finance, DeFi, which I don't believe in any DeFi projects. They're all centralized at some point or another, and their management and governance systems seem to be relatively easy to compromise and game, which is not good for your money. But anyway, so yeah, this is a not a new thing in crypto. I mean, We saw plenty of it in the 2014 through 2016 period on Twitter even, and Facebook. So much so that these social media platforms decided that they were going to crack down on any kind of messaging referring to cryptocurrencies, exchanges, or services. And see, this at first glance anyway, appears to be something that they've done out of the goodness of their heart. They're looking out for the benefit and the safety of their customers, their users. Of course, that's bullshit, because Jack Dorsey runs Square, which is a payment services platform, and Facebook was trying to launch Libra, which was its own cryptocurrency. So, I mean, it's not like these people didn't have specific interests in mind. And no, they were not yours. They were their own. Again, just more attempts to invite you to just come on and live in this prison cell. It's a nice prison cell. We got a pillow for you. Got this nice cot here and a nice little blanket for you. You got a toilet on the other side of the cell. Everything you need, man. Anytime you need some food, you just say, hey, you feed me. Or if you need something to drink, just say, hey, give me something to drink, and we'll take care of you, man. Just get in the cell. All right. Well, let's go ahead and throw back down with some music. And let's see. No, I don't want. Oh, yeah, why not? Got Ministry here. The Perfect Storm here on Coin Metal. And that was Disturbed. Kind of let it run a little bit long there. Didn't actually pick that one out. Anyways, as far as what else we're getting into today, I was digging around a little bit while I was on the music break. And I actually had a few things that I wanted to cover here. Let's see, where did I find that? Oh, yeah. There we go. This is something that's recently come up, and it's something that's predictable, and it's because of the assumption of trust that we get when we're talking about something that deals with government or involves government. And I've warned a lot about this with regard to regulatory frameworks at all in cryptocurrencies, is that if an entity says that, oh yeah, we're SEC regulated, or we're certified by the CFTC or something like that, if they're able to provide you at least with an illusion that this is the case, or the idea that they're completely legal or they're 100% regulatory compliant. People can fabricate these certifications. If they know what they look like, they can fabricate them. And so these are all things that when we're deciding where we want to put our money and so on and so forth, that we are checking as part of our due diligence, and that's a major problem, because when we're seeing things like, oh, this is CFTC certified, so on and so forth, if we know what we're looking at, even if we know what we're looking at, or if we don't, more likely, we can get duped by that stuff. And as a matter of fact, that's pretty much what happened with the financial crisis in 2007 through 2009, I want to say, because it did stretch a little bit into 2009. But that financial collapse happened because certain entities that were in charge, or at least offered themselves as authorities with regard to the solvency status or the quality status of a security, It was a ratings agency, basically. And I don't recall the specific rating agency, but there was basically a system in place to corrupt these entities, where you could bribe them to give AAA ratings to securities that did not have AAA ratings, and that if they were to be fully audited by the regulatory entities involved, or concerned rather, they would not pass muster. But the average person isn't a regulator. The average person doesn't work at the SEC. The average person does not work at the CFTC or the FDIC or any of the other OCC, any of these entities that would be able to take one look at it and say, hey, this is not passing the Howey test. You know? And there have been plenty of tools made available to us, and this show being one of them, that you could be using. And I'm not some major certified or heavily burdened with PhDs or any of that other bullshit when it comes to finance, but I've learned enough about economics and incentives and whatnot by participating and observing the cryptocurrency market and markets in general, that I can look at a currency and look at it and say, this is probably a scam. But that's only because I trust myself. I'm not trusting the qualifications of some regulatory entity or a Federal Reserve or some centralized bank or something. I'm not using their metrics to grade my investments. I'm using my own due diligence and my own anecdotal information. My own experience. And I know that doesn't count for much according to some people, but it's kept me rolling this long, so I can't complain too much, right? So anyway, I got this thing here, and we started talking about central banks issuing their own currencies and what kind of problems that could bring about. And I got this thing here, it's on Crowdfund Insider. Chinese scammers are impersonating central bank digital currency testers in order to lure victims into fraudulent investment schemes. And this is authored July 21st, 2020 at 11:55 p.m. by Omar Faridi. So, yes, penis. Cities throughout China are planning to begin testing, or already are, the country's central bank digital currency. Scammers have reportedly been impersonating CBDC testing groups. Tencent QQ reports that criminals have been promoting a scam that asks unsuspecting Chinese residents to sign up for a new debit card. The victims are told that they'll be getting a substantial amount of money after they make an investment of about 10,000 renminbi, approximately $1,450. The victims are told that the size of their initial investment will grow as much as 7 times the original amount to about 70,000 CNY, I guess that's Chinese yen, within an unspecified time period. The scam appears to be more prevalent in cities where CBDC testing will be taking place. As reported, the Chinese government announced the launch of its digital currency payment pilots in the cities of Shenzhen, Xi'an, Chengdu, and Suzhou. But it seems there's no official start date that has been confirmed for these pilots. Several reports suggest that the fraudsters may have even developed a mobile app for victims to manage their investments, which don't really exist because their money will be just stolen. The People's Bank of China, PBOC, the nation's central bank, and other Chinese banking authorities have previously noted that they'll be announcing developments related to their CBDC project via official channels. Chinese police officials have uncovered many crypto-related scams over the years. Authorities recently cracked down on a scam involving digital currencies in Wenzhou. The fraudulent scheme reportedly managed to steal more than 100 million CNY, approximately $14.3 million, from its victims. However, the funds were eventually seized, along with several luxury cars and villas. Yeah. So apparently Chinese scams have not stopped happening. And it's kind of funny. There's 4 questionable looking offerings right below it. That's interesting. But yeah, the pilot of China's digital yuan. In all honesty, that's another thing like Ethereum 2, or Ethereum 2.0 rather, that I don't think will officially launch, and this is one of the reasons why. Now, we saw this in Venezuela when they first tried their petro, and from what I understand, there's still some scammery going on down there because of it. But it's this association with the state. You know, it's like, I don't know, I've talked about that a million times on this show about people trying to associate their currency with something else of value. Okay, so, like gold. You know, how many times have we talked about gold-backed cryptocurrencies? How many millions of fucking times has that fucking scam popped up again and somebody pimping their fucking gold-backed currency? Oh yeah, it's gold-backed. It's backed by this ton of gold that I've got here in this safe that's promised to 8,000 other fucking entities. And you don't know anything about it, of course, because you're just receiving the one video feed. You're not related to the other 8,000 video feeds that are on that same ton of gold. And, of course, you have no way of verifying the legitimacy of the ownership of those tons of gold, or the ton of gold, or whatever the fuck they're issuing their tokens against. It's this effort to try and get something of value out of nothing of value. You know, the currencies that they're talking about, like a token or something, or the CBDC. Nobody's going to mine it, or at least the people not like you are going to be mining it. You know, some central bank or whatever. If there's even a currency, I mean like a cryptocurrency involved. You know, it could just be figures on a fucking database, and they're using some sort of database system to track everybody's transactions. And you know, that sounds really efficient and whatnot, but it's centralized, meaning if you want to transact with somebody and your government doesn't want you to transact with that entity or buy that thing or invest in that thing, they can say no to you. And this is a big liability. You know, also, if you invested in something and you didn't necessarily want your government to know about it, maybe it's none of their fucking business. If you wanted to do that, you couldn't do that with the CBDC. And this is one of the reasons why these state-backed projects do not fly. It's because they are wholly accountable to the state. And as wonderful and compliant as we all claim we want to be, when we're under that level of scrutiny, there's no one safe. That at any time something could be deemed illegal, and especially in a country such as China, where their central committee or whatever could just say, you know what, this is illegal. We don't want to make this legal anymore. We want to make this illegal. And we want to enforce this retroactively. Well, if you've done it digitally, there's a record of it happening somewhere. And if they know to look there, you're fucked. Who wants to live under that level of scrutiny? I don't know anybody who wants to live under that level of scrutiny. And if you know that cell is out there in the future, and that level of scrutiny is going to be applied to it, why would you crawl into it? or better yet, why would you stay in it if you knew you could get out of it? You know, this is the reality that we're in cryptocurrencies. It's no longer something that you are forced to participate in. It's not something that you're not. You can choose whether or not you want to participate in it. That's something that has never been available to us as far as a currency is involved. I mean, like, I shouldn't say never. There was a time when we could determine our own terms when it came to our barter and trade, and of course that still does exist in some markets. But as far as being able to mint our own currencies, that kind of went away from a long time ago. But I believe that with the invention of Bitcoin and other such cryptocurrencies, that it's back. That these corporate entities, while they're in these nice cozy relationships right now, I believe that just like the cancel culture being applied to media sources these days, I believe that the social scoring and all that other shit, they're actually going to try to apply that shit. And that they're going to be doing it through these CBDCs and other currencies that they control, such as the US dollar or whatnot. And that they'll be applying the policy through it. You know, so like if a video camera catches you without a mask on, your card won't work. It won't be up to the proprietor of the store whether or not you can be in their store without a mask on. Suddenly your payment services provider will be saying, oh, you're not compliant. Fuck you. You can't buy that. Go get your fucking mask on, bitch. Crawl into the cell. Now, if you know that level of scrutiny exists in the future, why would you get into the cell? And like I said, that's one of the reasons why I do this show, is to let you guys know this is no longer a reality where you are going to be confined solely to exist within these systems. That the choice is now available to you to simply delete yourself from them and conduct your financial activity, your digital financial activity, in realms that they just don't fucking rule. You don't have to live there forever. You just got to hop in and hop out. And that's one of the big dangers for for these entities, is that we aren't just stuck with Bitcoin. You know, so say if you do have some money in Bitcoin and you do arrange it with somebody else to convert some of it at least over to Ethereum, you know, where they intend to sell you some Ethereum and you intend to sell them some Bitcoin for that Ethereum. There isn't anything that a manager of a CBDC can do to stop that transaction from happening. So it's like, again, if you know there is an option out there that doesn't include that level of scrutiny and taxation, why wouldn't you utilize it? I think that after a while it's going to become too expensive. There's just going to be too much regulatory cruft being applied to you through these tools, these CBDCs, or other currencies that is managed by the Fed or whatever centrally, and that alone is going to cause businesses, big businesses, to say, you know what, we're just going to do money, we're just going to do our business in Monero or Litecoin or Verge or something that is not fucking controlled by you, so that I can actually make money to keep the lights on and keep my employees fed. I mean, really. I think that we are probably in the most taxed and regulated state that the United States economy has ever been in. But I don't expect it to last, in all honesty, because like I said, I think that, it's just a matter of where the regulatory entities can afford to focus at this point. But that changes. And so people that have money stashed away in something that's, it's not currently regulated or whatnot, they might find themselves hammered down a little bit harder. Like I talk about in Bitcoin how we've seen where tumblers have already been busted because of their function is to obfuscate the bill of lading, rather, of the location of where the fucking coins are, who own them, and all that other stuff. Their service is meant to obfuscate that. And so by terms of certain entities, that's illegal. And so, I mean, if it can be shown that your service exists solely to shield people from the long arm of the law or whatnot, that they might be seeing some additional pressure. And I've said this about Lightning, that one of the selling points of it is that to some extent you can obfuscate your transactions because it's not directly related to your address when the transaction settles out. And so you could conceivably hide your transaction in a slew of transactions that get cleared every, like once every week or some shit like that. And there's this illusion that there's not going to be any kind of tracking. Well, if you have watchtowers, then you have some way of tracking. And if you have watchtowers, you have some way of recording and monitoring. Well, Lightning works with watchtowers, so there you go. Anyway, I got this thing here. It's on, gergraphics.com. Real Money's Revenge. And this is by Ben Garrison, I guess. He's a cartoonist. And so here we go. Just over 10 years ago, I drew several pro-silver cartoons. One of them showed a giant, fast-moving silver coin cutting the J.P. Morgan paper tiger in half. For years, J.P. Morgan had shorted silver and has been doing it illegally and collusively. I knew this, but I went all in on silver anyway because I thought JPM would have to cover and spark a massive short squeeze. I was convinced my long positions would make me a fortune. Instead, JPM drove the price of silver down from almost $50 in early 2011 all the way down to $13 just a few years later. Paper-covered rock. Needless to say, I learned a hard lesson about putting all my eggs in a silver basket. Now, silver is back up to over $20, and some are predicting much higher prices on the horizon, just like they said over 10 years ago. Gold is also close to making all-time highs, which is incorrect because inflation needs to be factored into such a high due to years of incessant dollar printing. Silver and gold have broken out higher due to a weaker dollar, and some experts such as Peter Schiff claim King Dollar will die due to overprinting. I have my doubts. The dollar is still greatly desired by America's poor and the middle class, whose wages have not risen much in the last 30 years. They are not getting more dollars like citizens did in Weimar Germany. You won't see dollars in wheelbarrows anytime soon. Most of the Federal Reserve's dollar printing goes directly to a handful of fantastically wealthy people at the top of the pyramid. Many of them own the Federal Reserve. The Fed is propping up a market that is mostly owned by the top. We the people are not receiving what the Fed is buying, whether it is treasuries, corporate bonds, or ETFs, but we are forced to pay for it. Citizens must cough up more taxes to pay the interest on the absurdly high debt in order to make sure the fabulously rich get fabulously richer. Until those at the very top start giving their money away to the rest of the country, the dollar will be fine. No, I'm not advocating class warfare, and it's not socialism. What we're seeing is not capitalism. The top 1% is getting their money by ill-gotten means. It's fascism when the Fed gets to pick and choose which globalist company or sector to prop up. I took some time off in Idaho last week, and I visited one of my favorite places on earth, Wallace. It's a mining town in northern Idaho. It's just off I-90 and has a long storied history. It is also known as the center of the universe, and it is, at least when it comes to silver. There are many other silver mines in the surrounding area, also known as the Silver Valley. A total of 1.2 billion ounces of silver came out of those mines over the years, and there's still plenty of silver left. It costs a lot of dollars to run a gold or silver mine. Sometimes it costs lives. 91 miners died of carbon monoxide exposure at the Sunshine Mine in 1972 after a ventilation system caught fire. Precious metals are not easy to find. Gold is rare. It takes a lot of money to start a mine. Equipment, labor, environmental permits, all very expensive. Once the ore is removed, it must be milled and smelted. Gold in particular is very hard to find. I know. I drove many miles to do some gold panning on a claim in eastern Idaho and got skunked. I could not find gold with my metal detector either. Compare this to how easy it is for the Federal Reserve to create debt dollars with the flip of a switch. Gold and silver remain constitutional money, but they are no longer in common circulation. Gold and silver, and copper too, have been the best form of money throughout the ages, but no longer. They have become anachronisms and are incompatible with the digital age. There will be no revenge. Sure, the dollar can become gold-backed once more, but that's not likely. What is likely is the Fed will convert us to a cashless society and adopt a social credit system. This will be the worst form of money because it will mean the total enslavement of humanity. I don't really see that taking the hold that a lot of people, or at least a few people, would really like to see. And that was the end of it, by the way. He doesn't actually come to a conclusion on there, other than to say that they intend to push us onto a cashless society and then take away our personality and stuff. And I don't think that's really going to happen. You know, I think that we're seeing mild manipulation with regard to masks and whatnot. And I do think that we'll see some sort of attempt at pushing everybody to a universal currency system. But I think that enough people have been warned about it, and enough people have been kind of, I would say, woken up just in their own experience. That they've learned these lessons back in back when they were like 5 to 7 years old, with the ephemeral trends in value, that hopefully they get it through their heads at that point anyway. That value is ephemeral and it is social. And that if you do not have persistent currencies or persistent units of account, that you could descend into a social chaos where you don't actually ever get paid for anything, but everybody gets to enjoy the shit that you made anyway. There's a point in there where you stop producing even for yourself because they've come to take even that from you, And at that point, you've lost all incentive to continue to make it. And so everybody that was dependent on you dies. And then they want to blame you for it. And it's like, fuck you. I'm not your fucking slave. I'm not going to be your fucking slave. I'm not going to continue to make things for you and not receive some sort of profit for it. Just like any other entity or organism on this planet, I want mine. And that's one of the things about cryptocurrencies is that it is possible for us to have it and be adequately compensated for our time and effort. But certain people want to stay in their little lofty palaces and whatnot, and they seem to believe that they deserve that. They it's something they were born to. They were destined to rule. Well, no. When you're having to bend your knee and come down to the people's economy and the people's currencies, you're going to get hosed just like you hose everybody in your systems. And this is a reality, and none of your centralized systems are ever going to shield you from that, because the real profit is to be found where there is real risk. And this will always be the case. The risk will set the premium, and the premium will set the relative value. And there is no escaping this. And it doesn't matter how wonderful your system is and whatnot. This is how it is. You can only get so much compliance when you're pointing guns at people. And it's when those guns are not pointed at people that the furtiveness continues. And will continue. Because, nobody's different. Everybody wants theirs. And where they are denied theirs, they will look elsewhere. It's a simple fact. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down with some music. And as far as where to go, I'm not sure. I think we should go for a little bit of Between the Buried and Me. And these songs are like obnoxiously long, at least some of them are, because it's kind of a conceptual album. But here it is, Yellow Eyes by Between the Buried and Me, here on Coin Metal. And that was Melvins with Revolve. And yeah, kind of drawn it to the close here. But it's again, I say it every time on the show that you gotta look out for your own bunghole. Okay, there are people that are trying to get into there and trying to get stuff out of it. Really now, the digital age it endows us with a plenitude of freedoms, but also a lot of risks involved. Other risks that didn't exist outside. Well, at least weren't as fast and apparent as they are online. But these attempts to corral the market down, now that we've kind of broken through that membrane, I don't really think it'll be successful. That the desire of people to do things as cheaply and as quickly as possible, I believe, will win out over pretty much every other concern. Things like funding policies and departments that you do not know their mandates, and you probably wouldn't even agree to them if you knew them. Instead of all of that going on, you could be funding your direct community. It's like today I made a decision. I was shopping about for a water wand, and I was kind of on my way to Walmart. I was on a main road. I could get to Walmart from there, And I was going down the road, and I happened to notice that I'm getting ready to pass by a garden place, and it's a local business. It's been in this valley for quite a long time. And so, you know what? I decided that I was going to go there instead, because I could just as likely get exactly what I wanted to acquire, and it is right there. And it is a local company, a local family-based business. And I said, I'd rather give them my money. We make these decisions every single day, and we even make them with what currency we use. And I believe that for whatever reason, people will be choosing to utilize currencies that do not experience the same level of regulatory friction and taxation that the currencies that they're currently using do. And this is I believe it's an eventuality that's been brought into being by Bitcoin. That without it, we'd still be depending on the Federal Reserve to issue us Federal Reserve notes in perpetuity, and everything would be fine. But we got the bomb dropped right in our lap, and we said, if we could do it digitally, why do we need the Federal Reserve to do it digitally for us? And it is with that I'd like to close out this episode. Thank you very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. We will be back again on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want y'all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Certainly not the CBDC. And so as far as what our last dance is going to be, it's going to have to be short, because we don't really have a lot of time. But I think we can find something nice and short here. Here we go. Pantera, Good Friends and a Bottle of Pills. Last Dance here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and y'all have an excellent evening. Good night.